Hey, what is up ladies and gentlemen? I am Piglet here once again and I am back for some more yet again for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Yoshi's Crafted World for the Nintendo Switch. So last time we have managed to able to, well, gather the last few pieces of the souvenirs in the forms of Dino Desert. In addition with that, we also did manage to get things started with Pastrial Pathway while going through those two levels, as you can see right there, which they are stitched together, as well as Poochies Sweet Run. And today, we're about to be continuing things on with Pastrial Pathway while going through the third and the last level on this world, which appears to be known as Yoshi Pulls some strings, which means that we need to constantly pull down some strings every once in a while so that we can able to progress to the actual main level. So either way, let's get this thing to it. So, excuse me, I got something in my throat there, I do apologize for that. So anyways though, if you're familiar with Curtain Call from Yoshi's Woolly World, or in this case Yoshi's Curtain Call level, that this particular bit right there is actually somewhat feels like some sort of like a reference to that particular level in Yoshi's Woolly World, except, well, of course, that rather than just hanging on to the actual curtains, instead that we need to actually hang on to the forms of those strings themselves, which that's the main emphasis on this particular stage, because we need to get a lot of usage of the forms of the actual strings to be able to continue throughout the level. So that's how it goes basically when it comes to this particular level itself goes. So even then, there's not much else to discuss upon. So even then, oh yeah, there might be something is hidden there, such as, of course, we can never forget those red coins, obviously, so that way we could able to actually guarantee to get ourselves the actual smiley flower towards it. So, but you know, you get the drill from that part. So and yeah, if you couldn't tell already, my voice is actually slightly better than the forms of how he does it in yesterday's video, just because I don't have to worry about the forms of a lot of, you know, jump cutting between those little tiny clips of the actual commentary and stuff like that, which it seems a little bit problematic ever since in yesterday, but now since the forms of today's day is the forms of Friday the 28th of February today in 2020, so this means that February is not done just yet though, so this means that tomorrow obviously is going to be the leap year. This means we get ourselves the forms of the extra day for February for this year, which I'm sure many people already know this at this point, so even then, as far as everything else I'd like to discuss upon for this point today is the fact that, well, I'll discuss more about it whenever we're able to actually get onto the forms of the souvenir hunting first, especially noticeable how the fact that we've actually got things started with, you know, for this particular stage, as you can see right there. By the way, with these guys right there, they manage to swing back and forth. The only time you can able to be perfectly safe for these guys is the fact that you can able to actually just jump on them, rather than just, you know, trying to go underneath it, because if you try to attack them from underneath, the actual shell may able to actually contain some prickly parts. This means about the fact that you will get hit by them, so just to let you guys know about that. So even then, there's not much else to really compromise as such. So even then, few things we want to explain also is the fact that obviously Cap King 74, he's still continuing things on with his Let's Play of you know, Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle Let's Play. I'm pretty sure that he might able to actually tackle through, although it's kind of like the same thing for how he does it in The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, that he was going to be, well, he did already tackle through, but I'm guessing that in addition to able to actually just to be guessing this correctly, that not only he might able to actually go for the entire game itself, but I would mentioning about the fact that he might also tackle through the DLC portion as well, such as the, for instance, that, well, we obviously already showcased off the first piece of DLC, but later on during the forms of this particular timeline, he will able to show off the Ultra Challenges or something like that, and especially noticeable with the Donkey Kong Adventure DLC story. So even then, I might as well able to actually first thought about it. So even then, yeah, let's go ahead and just keep on climbing for those strings, make sure if that, I'm guessing if I get this strong feeling that there might be something up there, so, because yeah, the actual exploration is usually the key factor about this, because well, for those of you already know, is the fact that, well, usually in every single Yoshi games, it's all about exploration at the same time. Well, it's unlike the forms of Yoshi's Island games, well, the Yoshi's Island trilogy, if I like to say so for this matter though, because, well, we already gone through the Super Nintendo game and the Nintendo DS installment, and even a new, even the 3DS version as a result for that too. So, because you don't have to worry about Baby Mario or anything like that, unless that there are some, hidden areas that you might be able to actually just to find throughout. So, speaking of which, actually, is the fact that with Yoshi's Island game, as far as the Game Boy Advance version specifically, I'm pretty much at the halfway point of it right now. Well, apart from the fact that the only hardest part about the game for me is the fact that trying to 100% on it is a huge challenge, like getting 100 points in each stage. So even then, that might be some considerably a replayability and stuff like that, so yeah, I just want to classify that, so. But obviously I'm not exactly perfect for this point because, yeah, as you probably guys can clearly tell with the only awkward pauses during the forms of the awkward silence when it comes to commentaries wise, is that much like usual is the fact that if I was going to do some commentary and stuff like that, sometimes my throat gets a little bit dry, which thankfully I've got myself my a glass of water so that way I can able to, well, restore my voice for able to do so. So either way, I don't know what these birds are meant to be for, but I'm guessing it's probably because it was there for the sake of the forms of background details. Whilst the forms of the souvenirs hunting, however though, spoiler warning, it will not count. So, just want to classify that. So I believe we need to pull this yellow string, and in that way we can able to reveal some more springs to jump through. So even then, it always kind of reminds me of like a Sonic level, to be honest. Well, except the fact that we're actually not jumping in the actual, the ball-shaped form of that specific jump animation, you know. But either way, we'll just leave it to that, I suppose. So anyways though, let's go ahead and grab some more of those red coins from here, and especially noticeable just trying to keep on jumping on their heads every once in a while, and also just get ourselves the next smiley flower. And hopefully we would able to actually conclude this level, and I just get the horrible sense of feeling that I might actually be once again off by a few of those red coins yet again, so it's gonna be one of those cases, I have to be honest with you here. But at least we did actually get ourselves all of these smiley flowers, as you can clearly see. As well as from that, we also managed to gather 315 coins. That's quite a lot compared to the forms that we actually got enough right now for the smiley flower. And also to top it off is the fact that I did not take any single, well, at least I did manage to take a good amount of damage to myself, but at least I've got some of the hearts back. So even then, at least we actually got ourselves all 20 hearts, so. But unfortunately, for the sake of time, we're off by 2 of those red coins this time around. So that's a bit of unfortunate, but either way though, we'll have to come back for that later. But either way, let's just go ahead and double check for a second there. It looks like we can now able to actually access to this next part of the world map right now, which I don't know exactly what that world is going to be, but I'm guessing it's probably based off from the carnival and stuff like that, which then again, we're not going to be ready for that just yet though, because otherwise I'm going to have to focusing on several worlds in between. So either way, let's head back onto the forms of Stitch Together level, so that way we can able to once again do what those souvenir huntings every once in a while. So, because yeah, there's going to be a lot of emphasis on these kinds of stuff like this, you know, so. But yeah, that's as far as I was going to be thinking of for the sake of time. But anyway, I do apologize for the actual tantrums right there, just because, well, once again, I'm just, my throat is a little bit tingly, but it's way better than the forms of yesterday, however, though, so at least that's the only good thing. And plus, the good thing too is the fact that Silver might actually, or Silver the Hedgehog rather, he will eventually coming back onto the forms of Rayman Raving Rabbids until tomorrow, especially noticeable on Sunday as well. So even then, and after that though, the new Let's Play will be up. So even then though, that it should be pretty exciting for the most part, because I was expecting if, you know how the fact that I wish I did say this ever since during the forms of yesterday's video, about the fact that I was originally trying to able to focusing on Yoshi's Woolly World as for the sake of the forms of the uploading schedules for the majority of the time. But unfortunately though, just because of how the fact that, well, I was going to do it for every single weekdays as far as I'm aware, but unfortunately, as I said this before, that my throat has a lot of issues during that time on Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday specifically, because even then I just try to speak up, but most of the time I'm just dead silent for almost the majority of the forms of the entire week or something. So either way, I guess there's not much anything else commented on there, but anyway, so now let's head back onto Poochies Sweet Run, because now we need to find the delicious cupcake with a smiley face. So even then, that makes it a little bit obvious for that point right there. So I suppose another thing I would like to discuss upon is the fact that, well, ever since yesterday, that in addition with the forms of Pokemon the movie 22, in this case Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution on Netflix, that I was supposed to be able to discuss upon this ever since in Junior forms have been, well, as I say, for the likes of today, but I need some more time before I'm able to actually just, well, I just need to able to do this first, and then afterwards though, I think I should probably let Silver the Hedgehog will notice this, because otherwise though, he might be looking forward to able to see the remake of the first film of the Pokemon anime movies and stuff like that, but that's how it goes basically. So in addition with that though, is the fact that any actual Google fans or something like that, they actually did manage to able to offer us the forms of the actual competition from the forms of 2020 Pokemon of the Year, and they actually did manage to able to have a final 10 results during the forms of Google website or something like that. So those are, well, number 10 is Gengar, number 9 is Gardevoir, which I do apologize with the actual names itself, by the way. Number 8 is Rayquaza, number 7 is Garchomp, and number 6 is Sylveon. Again, I do apologize for that specific names. And number 5 is Oyabon, and number 4 is Charizard, and number 3 is Mimikyu, and number 2 is Lucario, and the number 1 of the Pokemon of the Year in 2020 is none other than, or surprisingly, ironically enough, is the fact that, well, it's just me anyway, Greninja. Yeah, Greninja was actually on the top number 1 where it comes to the forms of 2020 Pokemon of the Year, which I totally get that for the sake of the forms of the actual fan favorite of the actual Pokemons and stuff, but to me, I wasn't really keen on the forms of Greninja, to be honest with you, although I did manage to, play as him during the forms of Super Smash Bros. Games, specifically Super Smash Bros. For the 3DS, as well as Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U, and heck, even with the forms of recently Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, I just don't seem to able to actually have an easier time with him, to be honest with you. I mean, sure, he might be quite fast and elegant, but unfortunately for me, that was the only character I found is a little bit difficult to handle, because most of the time I just lost my concentrations and stuff. But I digress. So anyways, now let's head back onto this recent level that we just managed to play. But this time around, however though, we need to find 5 of those hot air balloons. So hopefully we're able to find those. Well, it's a good thing too that we might be able to actually come back into this level again. So that way we could be able to find the final 2 of those red coins in this level. So at least expecting that'll be the case. So, but then again though, trying to able to actually do all these kinds of stuff might be pretty tedious at times, especially that you have to go through all this stuff. During forms of some of these souvenir items sometimes usually appears at the beginning, whilst most of the time, for the majority of the time, he's always ended up at the end of the levels, which even then, that it's got the forms of the Shadow the Hedgehog game syndrome when it comes to mission structures and stuff like that, you know? So, aside from everything else though, well, I did manage to able to guess that correctly when it comes to forms of PAX East 2020 recently, and that was the fact that yes, that SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Hydrated was actually on there, but from what I've seen the actual gameplay footage of it so far, it actually plays out exactly like how it did in E3 last year. Like, obviously it shows us the exact same location, like Like, obviously we get ourselves still the jellyfish fields. In addition with that is the fact that we'll still have ourselves a time limit to work with, and also you're still able to fight against the exact same boss, which is the king jellyfish, which is pretty understandable because it's more likely just like a demo of any sort, like the actual time limit system or something like that. But I'm really hoping that we're able to get ourselves the final release date for that game, because I was so desperate to able to actually just to get our hands on that particular remaster, or in this case a remake, because as far as I've noticed already, and I'm sure many people already noticed by this point, is that SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom was actually probably the best SpongeBob game out there, which alongside with the forms of others as well, like the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, specifically the console version, because it plays exactly like how it does it from Battle for Bikini Bottom, which I do appreciate about that specific stuff. And also same applies by the forms of, I would say in the middle portion, where it comes to SpongeBob Truth or Square and stuff like that. But you know, that's how it goes when it comes to the forms of some of the different personal tastes when it comes to the forms of video game movie tie-ins and stuff like that, whilst most of the time that, you know. So, unfortunately for the sake of time, well, I did manage to able to see the new gameplay footage of the Wonderful 101 Remastered, thanks to the forms of PAX East 2020, despite the fact that the Wonderful 101 has not mentioned in any forms of Nintendo Direct at all, which I found was a little bit disappointing, but at least we did manage to get ourselves the actual new gameplay footage of the Wonderful 101 Remastered specifically for the Nintendo Switch and stuff like that. And as far as I've looked at the gameplay footage of it, it plays exactly like how it did on the Wii U version, except, well, as far as I've noticed with, I would say the faster loading times or something like that. Then again though, that particular remaster of the game wasn't exactly out yet, so even then I'm expecting to see high expectations, especially noticeable that everyone else is fully dreamed about this for this point right about now, especially that was a thing right now, so at least everyone else was super hyped about it, which I don't know about me personally, but still. And also another thing that has been happening during the forms of that PAX East 2020 is the fact that, well, we've recently managed to realize that we actually got ourselves some more gameplay footage of Streets of Rage 4, and I haven't really looked on it for myself, probably because of how the fact that I was more into the forms of, specifically with the Mario and Zelda and also some Metroid stuff every once in a while, but even then I might be very interested to see the actual gameplay footage of Streets of Rage 4 it actually plays out, so even then, aside from everything else though, sadly for this point guys, I'm basically pretty much still rusty at this point, especially because that I was expecting that we actually get something new to the table, but then again, for me though, it's the fact that 2020 is basically bare bones so far, especially that it's been about 2 months since we have not gotten a single news for this point yet, so that's a little bit redundant, because otherwise though, I was expecting to see some exciting stuff has been going on. Oh wait. Actually, kind of think about it, the last 2 red coins is actually in here. Okay, there we go then. So anyways, let's go ahead and climb up to that particular string here. Yeah, I will admit though right away is the fact that much like yesterday's video is the fact that sometimes you're going to be hearing me trying to able to pull off this very awkward voicing and the voice box, as you can guys can clearly hear, just because then again I wasn't exactly 100% perfectly better yet, so hopefully that I will do at some point in next Tuesday, so that way I can able to actually just well, carry on focusing on this for quite some time. So even then, though, that might be seems the case for most inevitable way. So either way, let's just go ahead and just double check what's beyond. And I just get a horrible feeling that I'd be missing out on one souvenir left, which is kind of annoying though, because even then though, that think of like how it did in the forms of Shadow the Hedgehog missions, that if you're missing on one thing, you always have to force the able to actually just utilize the checkpoint teleportation devices and stuff like that, and as a result you can able to actually head back into the beginning portions of the level, and then you can able to find them from here, so It's gonna be one of those things, isn't it? And I get a feeling that I completely ignored that since the very beginning of the level, so I guess I must admit that right about now. But either way though, let's just go ahead and exit off the course. I just missed the that's probably my fault. That was definitely my fault. I would have wished I was gonna able to actually just well, trying to clear the stage instead of like retrying the stage over again, but I totally forgot about that. Oh well, we'll come back for that at the end of the video, so even then let's just head back onto Stitch together, so that way we can able to do the flip side on it this time. So even then, now if you guys are probably wondering, what about the forms of the Poochie Pups hunting? Well, I'll do one of them during the forms of today, and I'll do the rest during the forms of next Tuesday. I'll promise you guys about this. So even then, let's head on to the forms of this particular level, as you can see on the flip side this time. And because of that, we need to find the lightning bolts, or the lightning cloud, lightning bolts, whatever you want to call it. So it really doesn't matter if what I was going to able to actually just, well, just to call it that. So even then, let's just head on to here, which it's pretty much impossible to reach from this, specifically at this edge right there. But luckily, I can able to actually hit back up, specifically where I was trying to adjust the actual, the balancing kind of platform, as you can see right there. So there we go, we managed to get ourselves the lightning bolt here. So now let's go ahead and leave the level. Well, I'm also able to actually go back onto that specific stuff in a later time, so don't worry folks, I will promise you guys I'll do that. So yeah, unfortunately for the sake of time, unfortunately though, there's not much anything else interesting happens at this point today. It's just the fact the matter is though, is the fact that, well, sometimes my recording processing can get pretty awkward at times, because sometimes I have to keep on like cutting things out, because most of the time if I cough during the middle of the actual video, it will be not nice at all. So even then, yeah, let's head on to the forms of Poochies Sweet Run once again, except this time we need to find not only the Poochie Pups, but also some of those Yoshi cookies, which even then, there needs to be exactly the same shape as in Yoshi's face. So even then, except the fact that, well, kind of think about it though, we actually become Yellow Yoshi, and then as far as the cookie design versions of the Yoshi's faces themselves, they're more actually becoming like a yellow color, which I think we almost had a matching kind of syndrome or something. I've never exactly noticed what I was going to be saying for this point right now, just because then again we are super rusty at this point, especially that we so well, at this point in time, it might be seems a little bit more boring when it comes to the forms of commentary, stuff like that, but this is how it is when it comes to the forms of like nothing interesting happens or something like that, unfortunately. It's just for the sake of clarity, so. But you know, you get the drill for that point, so. Oh yeah, one thing I need to discuss upon this actually is the fact that if you try to swallow up those bigger shy guys, as you can see right there, well, kind of think about it though. Oh, really? Stupid cookie bridge. So yeah, as I was saying, is the fact that, well, if you're trying to eat those tougher, bigger shy guys, as you can see right there, it actually instantly gives you more eggs instead of just one. So even then, I thought it was worth bringing it up. So even then, let's go ahead and find another cookie from here. Of course, we still got enough time to able to actually search for the rest of those, you know, the rest of the Poochie Pups, of course. So even then, let's try to, well, swallow these guys up so that we can able to continue proceeding for this level right here. So even then, know that, of course, you can't ground pound them because, well, the color reminds me like the caramel blocks or something like that, which is like, I'm not a big fan of like caramel, honestly, apart from the fact that what if I managed to able to utilize the caramel is of course making banoffee pie, which I have to admit though that was my favorite dessert of all time, but that's how it is when it comes to those stuff like that for that nature, so. But you know, you most likely get the idea for that little solution. Oh, there's the last Poochie Pup right here. And then sure enough, I think we still got enough time to able to reach make it towards the end. In addition with that, we also decided able to actually find, you know, the Yoshi cookies basically. Now, I think I'll do one more souvenir hunting for the sake of this video, because if you couldn't tell already from the actual time length which you can see on this episode, this is going to be one of the shortest videos as far as this particular Let's Play is concerned, because, well, I promise you guys, until likely next week or so, well, assuming if I need to able to make myself better, for 100% pure better, then I can just simply just able to actually just to hit back onto this game, and then boom, there we go. We can able to actually just to carry on doing some more uploading schedules for this game. So even then I just want to classify that, so. But you know, I just get a horrible feeling that it looks like I was off by one Yoshi cookie left, which it might be not be that far, or sometimes most of these objects or souvenirs can be very well hidden, which I have to be honest for that point. But anyway, so at least we actually got ourselves some more smiley flowers to top it off, such as we did manage to, you know, find all these Poochie pups, as well as beating the or completing this task with a certain amount of time. But yeah, that's just how it goes basically. So yeah, I'll meet you guys back whenever we find the last of the Yoshi cookies. So I'll meet you guys back. Okay, so it turns out we need to crawl under here, and boom, there we go. We did manage to find that at least. So now let's go ahead and leave. And I guess for the most part though, I think we're able to actually end things for this point right there. Although before we do that actually, let me just go ahead and get ourselves the next smiley flower. In addition with those, well, at least one of the smiley flowers anyway. Let's see what's the next. Oh, okay, it's just the red squirrel kind of souvenirs that we need to find. So yeah, that's gonna be something else. So yeah, I'll meet you guys back whenever we find the last two red coins again. So yeah, it's not that difficult to find like I just shown you from before, but I just want to grab those just in case. Okay, so it's normally over there, and basically just get the final two red coins from here. Okay, so another jump cut later, so even then though, at least we actually got ourselves a smiley flower at least. So yeah, I guess we'll pretty much get endings off here. So join me next time on Let's Play Yoshi's Crafted World. It's the fact that we're most able to wrap things up with Pastry Pathway while going through the final few sets of those souvenir huntings, and then we can able to move on to the next world, pretty much. So yeah, see you guys until, let's just say on next Tuesday, because next Tuesday or next Monday is going to be something peculiar, so see you then.